once again, welcome to JumpStart Your Immunity. Tonight's topic, R&R JumpStart. Work, work, work. All I have time to do is work. I'll sleep when I'm dead. Sleep, so overrated. Does rest and relaxation really make a difference in your immune system? Find out with Yvonne Afenir.
Good evening, everyone. It is good to be here with you. My name is Yvonne Afenir, and I am a frontliner. So this evening's presentation really is applicable to me. I have been a little bit sleep deprived the past 4 days. We've been actually having a surge of patients, which I believe everybody knows at this point. But as I was able to sleep last night, finally. And it is really good to just be with you today. So just sit back and relax, and let's experience my topic today, which is rest, sleep, relaxation, and recreation. It's going to be short and sweet. And I just pray that this particular presentation, which is actually third to the last, would once again give you an insightful experience on how your body works. So rest, sleep, relaxation, and recreation. I am going to use rest and sleep interchangeably during this presentation. So let's talk about the physiology of sleep. Physiology is the study of something. So we're going to dissect what actually are the stages of sleep. When is the best time for us to sleep, and which time gives our body the most benefit. We're also going to discuss certain hormones that affect sleep and rest. We are going to discuss how exercise, nutrition, air, and all of the things discussed during the past presentations really affect rest and sleep, and how rest and sleep can eventually contribute to your overall well-being. We are also part of the discussion is how sleep and rest is relevant to the ongoing COVID-19 phenomenon that is happening right now. So Thomas Dekker says sleep is the golden chain that binds health and our bodies together. Well put, Thomas Dekker. I like that. If you think about it, the chain between one's health is linked to how much hours we put in our sleep. So let's talk about the stages of sleep. Stage 1, we go through a light sleep. The first stage of sleep is light sleep. During sleep, during this stage, you drift in and out of sleep. Your eyes move slowly, and muscle activity starts to wind down. It's very easy to be awakened when you're in the first stage of sleep. This is also when you might experience the feeling of falling that can cause sudden muscle contractions. And this is a phenomenon known as hypnic myoclonia. This is a high-sounding word. These are high-sounding words, and I will be using them intermittently during this presentation. Nevertheless, it is not as important as what I would like to convey, okay, during this entire presentation. I'm hoping that we can get the essence, the meat of what I'm going to discuss based on simple pictures, simple words. I would just really like for you to understand and let it be ingrained in your mind that certain things in life, like sleep, is really taken for granted, and we can do so much about it. If you're woken up during this stage of sleep, you might feel like you haven't slept at all. Stage 2 is also considered a light sleep stage, but it is preparatory to deep sleep. Eye movement stops, brain waves slow down, body temperature starts to drop, and heart rate slows down as well. Stages 3 and 4 is what we call deep sleep. The third stage marks the transition from light to deep sleep. Stages 3 and 4 of sleep are characterized by slow brain waves. If you're woken up during a deep sleep stage, you might feel disoriented for a while, but it might actually be very difficult to be woken up at all in this point in your sleep cycle. It's in these stages of sleep that people experience parasomnias, sleepwalking, such as sleep apneas also happen during this stage of sleep. That's when you catch breath where your diaphragm is being pressed down, and then you experience shortness of breath. That's because parasomnias tend to occur when you're transitioning from non-REM, which is rapid eye movement, to REM sleep, which is we're going to discuss that on actually stage 5. Deep sleep is also known as slow wave sleep. It's the deepest and most restorative sleep you'll experience during the night. Deep sleep is crucial for refreshing your mind and body for the next day. Tissue repair happens during deep sleep, as does the release of hormones. We are going to discuss the hormones later on. Older adults have trouble entering a state of deep sleep. They also tend to sleep less and wake up more often. Stage 5, which is the REM or rapid eye movement sleep. This sleep stage usually occurs after the first 90 minutes of sleep. The first instance of REM sleep usually lasts around 10 minutes, and each subsequent REM sleep period throughout the night gets longer. Your final period of REM sleep will last about an hour. During this stage of sleep, your eyes stay closed, but they move super quickly from side to side. You also experience increased brain activity at this point in the sleep cycle, which is why dreams most commonly take place in REM sleep. Do you know that you have about 4 to 6 dreams a night? Sometimes 6. Dreams happen during this stage. Your body relaxes in REM sleep and your muscles stop moving. So those are the stages of sleep. Very important in our study tonight is what we call circadian rhythm. What is circadian rhythm? We all live according to our circadian rhythm. It is a near 24-hour internal clock that controls how our body's functions change throughout the day. Your cognition, metabolism, sleep-wake cycle, and many other functions all follow a circadian rhythm. The master clock in your hypothalamus keeps track of time by cues such as light and darkness, physical activity, and mealtime schedule. The rest of your body is synchronized with the master clock in your hypothalamus through neural and hormonal signals and cortisol, and that cycles throughout the day. Whenever we would see patients, part of our assessment is really making sure that their bowel movements are regular. And most of them would say, like clockwork, Yvonne. It works like clockwork. I do it every day after a meal. You know, that is their circadian rhythm when it comes to meals. You would also notice in your own bodies that you follow a certain meal pattern every day. And because of that, you follow a certain gastrointestinal movements every day, like bowel movements every day, which is regular. However, if you take a trip and this is disrupted, you would notice that you get constipated. That is circadian rhythm. Okay, your circadian rhythm is disrupted. Why is light important to circadian rhythm? Light is important is because light triggers the reset of circadian rhythm after it has been in disuse for a while. You see, our bodies are created so that we could recognize night from day. In the story of creation, and I would refer back to the Word of God at this point, God created the day and the night. And after each creation, he mentions the evening and the morning were the first day. We are creatures of habit. We sleep during the night, we wake up during the day. There is great wisdom in following how God created the world and how we can adapt that even to our own bodies. Our bodies were created so that we may be able to recognize day and night and that we will be able to adapt to it. So, this is circadian rhythm. There are certain hormones that affect sleep. The pineal gland, which is located at the base of the brain, is the one responsible for actually developing and giving away hormones. It is through the secretions of the pineal gland that the hormones of sleep are created. And the first hormone is serotonin, which is a mood hormone. You know this hormone. Makes you happy. In fact, people who are depressed needs high doses of serotonin. It can be on a prescription form. And this elevates their mood. Otherwise, without serotonin, we would be like zombies. You know how depression is? Depression is actually a killer. It is also a medication that is needed by mental disturbances. And without serotonin, high suicidal rates are expected. Another hormone is what we call arginine vasotosin. This is a painkiller, and this encourages deep sleep. If you're in pain, you're going to have to sleep early because this hormone is secreted in the blood during the times when it's night. We will discuss that further on, and it's amazing how this hormone actually helps for people post-surgically. How about epithalamin? Epithalamin is an anti-aging hormone. It is related to your growth-stimulating hormone, and it also increases learning capacity. If you want to stay young, you have to sleep early. You have to sleep early. That is what epithalamin is all about. How about melatonin? We know melatonin. Melatonin is a healing and rejuvenating hormone. Melatonin in our body is produced by the pineal gland once the sun starts to set. Okay, so it's amazing how these hormones work together so that it can replenish our bodies. Our next slide. Now, we mentioned all of these hormones, and I would like for you to remember, if there's something that you will remember on this slide, is the power hours of sleep. When do you gain most benefit? What time of the night do you gain most benefit? When you go to bed. Some people, they say it varies. I would like to sleep after 1 and then I get up at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock. Is that sufficient? Some people ask me, Yvonne, how about if I sleep 7 o'clock and I wake up at 2 o'clock? Some people get frustrated because they're saying, oh, I sleep at 8 and then I wake up at 3 o'clock. Okay, what is the best hours of sleep? The best hours of sleep is from 10 p.m. to 3 a.m., which is daylight savings time, 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. when it's non-daylight savings time. These are the hours these hormones are produced in beneficial amounts. So if you sleep at 8 o'clock and you wake up at 3 o'clock, actually you've gained enough sleep. For every 2 hours that you sleep before midnight, for every hour that you sleep before midnight is equivalent to 2 hours when you sleep after midnight. So if you sleep at 10 o'clock, you get up at 2 o'clock, you have already benefited how many hours of sleep? Close to 8 to 10 hours? So remember this, how important it is for you to sleep during these hours. Now, the question is, how are we treating our hormones? Can we jumpstart it? Is it dormant? Like what I told you, if you do not jumpstart your circadian rhythm, it is going to affect your overall body metabolism. And that includes everything. It can be from digestion, it can be from the way you function sexually. All of this is part of a circadian rhythm. However, if you jumpstart your hormones, it is going to jumpstart your circadian rhythm. First is exercise. Exercise enhances the production of arginine vasotoxin. That is the hormone that we mentioned in the previous slide. Exercise does that. So can you imagine if you don't exercise? What happens? Arginine vasotoxin is compromised and you don't have that ability to heal or even manage your pain. So it's very important to exercise. Why do surgical, especially ortho patients, are forced to walk within 24 hours post-surgery? Yes, to regulate their bowel movements, yes. But the foremost is to alleviate pain. So very important, exercise is part of your regimen, and this was mentioned in the previous presentations, how important it is, how you can exercise. In fact, I believe it was also mentioned how you can do high intensity level of exercises where you can do a 15-minute high intensity workout, which is equivalent to 2 hours of walking. So if you have any questions about that, maybe you can ask us later on. But high intensity exercises is the thing now for those who are very busy, who can't put in 2 hours of walking into their day. What else jumpstart your hormones? Laughter. Endorphins. Endorphins jumpstarts your hormones. So be happy. A merry heart doeth good like a medicine. A broken spirit drieth the bones. A very full of wisdom from Proverbs. Tryptophan. We're going to discuss tryptophan later on. I believe this was discussed during the nutrition segment of these presentations. Tryptophan is an amino acid. It is an end product for proteins, and you can find it in various foods. Tryptophan actually is an amino acid that triggers the production of your hormones, especially serotonin and melatonin. How about sunshine? Yes, sunshine is good. Lots of vitamin D. Okay, and remember, vitamin D is produced under the skin in the presence of cholesterol. So if you're taking cholesterol medications, the absorption of vitamin D is impaired. So look into that. We're just gonna have to manage your cholesterol some other way by not taking any of these cholesterol medications. Otherwise, vitamin D is not metabolized, and then vitamin D is not metabolized, you get depressed, you'll have bone disorders, and actually you won't benefit from sunshine without vitamin D in your body. Sleeping in the dark. This is part again of how melatonin and serotonin are produced when you sleep in the dark. Some people are having a hard time sleeping in the dark. Why? Because they are used to just having television turned on to keep them to actually allow them to sleep. But this is not a very good habit. How about fasting? Fasting actually encourages the production of tryptophan. Tryptophan is produced when your body, when your stomach is empty of food. Have you heard about time restricted eating? I'm not sure if it was discussed, but I'm pretty sure it was. If it was, then let me repeat it again, because in repetition, you will learn. Time restricted eating is actually spacing your meals. It's only 2 meals a day. And between meals is about 5 to 6 hours with a period of fast from 17 to 18 hours. So if you eat at 8 o'clock in the morning, your next meal will be from 2 to 3. And then you wait again, you go on a period of fast up to 8 o'clock again the next day. Timed restricted eating is actually a key to weight loss. If you want to lose weight, it is a key to certain inflammatory bowel diseases like inflammatory bowel syndrome, and Crohn's disease, all of these bowel diseases. So just look at that: exercise, laughter, tryptophan, sunshine, sleep in the dark, fasting, and there are others. But these are the main ones that you should remember. Our next slide. We talked about tryptophan, and these are the tryptophan. These are the foods that's very high in tryptophan. Whole milk is only 46. Very tiny. You know that whole milk is not actually suggested in any diet, especially for those who are having high allergies. We don't have the capacity to actually digest milk or dairy products. We don't have that enzyme. Walnuts is 267, almonds 322, sesame seeds would be 358, pumpkin seeds would be 578, flax seeds 644, and the king of them all, tofu. You're gonna have to have one of this aside from milk, like flax seeds, pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, almonds, and walnuts, even tofu in your diet every day for you to have tryptophan. One thing about tryptophan is you can only eat as much during the day. You cannot reserve it for the next. So this is an amino acid that needs to be present in your food every day. So your sleep producing hormones can be triggered. Now, what are the hormone killing agents? Stress and worry. I cannot overemphasize this. Even the last part, which it says depression. If you have any problems with, especially depression, you can actually seek help. There are certain your doctors can probably recommend a class that you can attend, because once you have these disorders, it is going to affect sleep. Artificial lights. What are artificial lights? Your computers, your cell phones, your televisions. Some people even sleep with their microwaves when you're in a hotel. Okay, so these are artificial lights. This is detrimental for the hormones to be produced during those power hours of sleep. How about methionine? Methionine is another amino acid. Once taken in excess, it inhibits the production of tryptophan. Where do you find methionine? Mostly you can find that in meat products. Meat products has methionine. So eating meat actually kills your hormones. How about having meals at night? Let's talk about this for a while. Okay. Something happened in the news, and maybe you can read about that. There was this man who ate a very heavy meal. He went to a restaurant with friends, and part of his meal was steak. And with that, he donned more on potatoes, and he drank wine with his friends. He went home, and he said, "Okay, I ate a lot. I better work out. I better exercise." After he exercised, he felt famished. So he decided to drink a glass of milk. And he said, "Now I'm ready to go to bed." He was found dead the next day. What happened there? There was an autopsy report, and he said that he suffered what we call acidosis, secondary to acute pancreatitis. He ate too much acid foods. Certain foods in our body are absorbed. They are digested differently. Vegetables and fruits are easily digested. They can be digested within 4 hours. So once it gets into your system, it goes there, it's being digested, and then you can use it actually after 4 or 5 hours. Meat digestion takes about 6 to 7 hours. And the king of undigested food, which takes about 10 to 12 hours, is milk and dairy products. So you see, when people combine their foods, like they eat meat with their vegetables, which do you think gets digested first? Not the vegetables. No. Actually, the vegetables are pushed over so that the stomach can digest the protein, which is meat. If that takes about 6 hours to digest, and your vegetables takes about 4 to 5 hours to digest, what do you think happens to the vegetables? The vegetables are not digested, they go into fermentation. How about if you eat ice cream after a meal of steak and vegetables? What do you think happens to the meat? The meat gets pushed over to one side. It gets fermented because now it takes a longer time for you to digest the milk in the ice cream. And on top of that, of course, ice cream has sugar, which is a stimulant, and it's a double whammy. So you see, eating heavy at night, especially meat, dairy, cheese, even a cheese sandwich, would affect your sleep. It is good practice that when you go to sleep, all of you should be sleeping, including your stomach. When your stomach gets to be overworked at night, you don't really feel that kind of restful sleep. In fact, even when you wake up, when you eat too much at night, you experience bad breath. Okay. And that's because it's halitosis, only because part of the fermentation goes to your breath in the morning. So it is good practice that when you think about this, think about what you're eating before you go to bed. That's why I don't understand why people always say, you want to go to sleep? Okay, drink a glass of milk with a little bit of honey. And there's no wisdom in that. I don't believe that. If you want to drink something like milk, then probably you can take almond milk. It is plant-based. It digests easily. And you can warm it up, place a little bit of carob in it, and then that could induce sleep. Right? So think about that. The next slide is, of course, what we call, we're almost at the end of my presentation. I hope I'm not speaking too fast. I'm just like that. And but this is a very important part of our discussion. How is rest, sleep, relaxation, stress connected to COVID-19? Let me direct you to a certain story that happened, I think that was the Spanish flu of 1918, which killed 50 million. And most of those who were affected were young and they were healthy, which was very tragic. Hutchinson Theological Seminary, with 180 students, practiced hydrotherapy, good nutrition, and rest during this time. And those 180 students were saved. That should tell us something, right? That should tell us something. Our body is actually equipped to fight viruses. if you know how to treat it well. In fact, it is suggested that during the 14-day quarantine, if you go through a certain virus, a certain sickness like a virus, you should extend it 5 more days of physical rest before you actually go out there. So rest is very important. Apart from, of course, hydrotherapy and good nutrition. Good nutrition is you're eating all of these antioxidants, these phytoestrogens, which is found in plants, these wonderful antioxidants that really, these are our fighter cells. And rest gives them the energy to be fighter cells. How about hydrotherapy? Hydrotherapy is hot and cold showers. You know, this is where your fomentation comes in, your steam inhalation comes in. All of this regimen, it was all given to these 180 students, and none of them was affected. They may have had the flu, but they didn't die. So this tells us something. In fact, there are studies now also that there's about 85,000 people. They were grouped into two, one who has sleep disorders and one who does not have sleep disorders, and they were followed through for 3 years. They found out that after 3 years, 50% of those who are having sleep disorders developed autoimmune disorders. Autoimmune disorders, that means to say your own antibodies are fighting. They're fighting against each other. I mean, it's such a losing battle. I mean, if your antibodies, which is support, which is supposed to fight diseases, fights against you, you it's a losing battle. They found out that 50% of those who were having sleep disorders was affected and developed autoimmune disorders like what? Rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes type 1, Sjogren's disease, lupus. And then there was also a study where they grouped students who had wonderful beneficial rest, sleep, which is 7 to 8 hours at the right time. You know, they were eating the right foods. And versus those who were night owls. They were doing their computers, you know, at the different, I mean, at the part of the day where part of the night where they're supposed to be sleeping. And they found out that those who were sleep deprived, once the rhinovirus, which is the cold virus, was injected into them, they succumbed to it. But this group over here were healthy. That tells us something, right? So sleep during the right time of the day and try to get into the habit of forming good habits. Try to make sure that at the end of the day, you're ready to wind down. At the end of the day, or even 2 hours before you go to bed, you have turned off all of your computers. You're ready probably to read a book. You have eaten your last meal 4 or 5 hours prior to that, and you're ready to go to sleep. My habit usually is I work mid shift, so I got off from work at 7:30. By the time I reach home, you know, I have already eaten my last meal is between 2 and 3, and I go into my portable sauna that's found in Amazon. I stay there for 30 minutes and I do my hot and cold shower. I'm ready to hop into bed between 8:30 and 9. And boy, it's such a restful sleep. Unless, of course, something happens during the night, like, you know, the dogs get sick, or, you know, if I'm being called in and I have to work, this disrupts my circadian rhythm. But most of the time, we've been doing this, me and my husband, for the past 7, 8 years. And I'm telling you, there was only 1 or 2 incidents where we have suffered a cold symptom. I was exposed with the COVID-19. Let me tell you that experience. I was one of the first ones that was exposed to COVID-19. I was visiting a patient in a facility, and unknown to me, this patient was actively going through the COVID-19 virus. He had no symptoms, nothing. So I was just wearing my regular mask, but I had no other PPE. I had no other protection except the mask. I was there with him. I listened to his lungs. I gave him his medications. I did his IV and everything on close proximity. This patient was not masked at all. But I found out that he had chills. When I called the doctor says, "Why don't you let him in?" He was diagnosed with pneumonia. And within 24 hours, I found out that he had the COVID-19 virus. This was about March or April when everybody was so gung ho about this. It's still a very serious virus. But that time, when you have it, it was pretty scary. My supervisor told me, "I'm so sorry, Yvonne, but you have to be quarantined for 14 days. I did not feel anything. The first thing I was so scared of was I was going to contaminate my husband, but I made it a habit that at the end of my work shift, I would go straight to my sauna and go take a shower so I wouldn't, I wouldn't contaminate him or anybody that is in my home. This has been my best practice for the past year, but none within those 14 days. My friends, my coworkers, they were expecting me to have the chills. They were expecting none, absolutely none. And all I can tell you is that because of good health, because of this regimen, I haven't been exactly like this. There were times when I was younger, I would abuse my body. But praise God for natural remedies. So we're done with that. And then now we go to relaxation and recreation. Like what I told you before, circadian rhythms are triggered by sunsets and sunrises. There's a beautiful text in the Bible which says, "If I take the wings of the morning and dwell in the uttermost parts of the sea, even there shall thy hand lead me, and thy right hand shall hold me." That's found in Psalm 138, 8 and 9. Memorize that. Go to a place where you can see something beautiful. This was actually taken in Washugo, Washington, about a week ago. The sun came out all of a sudden, and my son took this picture. Imagine yourself drifting in the clouds, looking at the trees, looking at the sunset, and you can find relaxation there. What is recreation? People have different ideas of what recreation is. Recreation means regeneration. If you're going to apply this in your body, that means to say that when you get into activities of recreation, you should think how your body can regenerate or how your body can benefit from it. Some people think recreation is hunting. I, I cannot understand that. I cannot understand how people can kill animals just to feel that they are being regenerated. But of course, that's their thing. Uh, I cannot also understand how people can say I'm doing recreation by doing video games late at night, or watching videos, horror movies, you know, while drinking coffee. This and that's one thing I forgot. Okay, part of the hormone killing agents, of course, is drinking coffee, which is a stimulant. I'm pretty sure this was discussed in the past. If you have any questions about that, you can always email me, and then we can sit down together and probably do a virtual visit, and I'll tell you exactly why stimulants like alcohol, coffee, chocolates are bad for you. Anyway, so recreation. So just make sure you go to a place where you can be quiet and silently contemplate on where your life is going. That is very, very therapeutic. In this time and age when everybody seems to be running around with like chickens with their heads cut off, it is good to sit down, to be still and know that there is a God. I'm not sure where your journey is with God right now, but I hope that it is in a place where you can just sit down and talk to Him and find your relaxation and recreation in Him. We're winding down, and I'm enjoying this. Ecclesiastes 3 1 and 2. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die. Part of this week may have been overwhelming for you. You know, presentations like this, if it can take on not just 7 days, if it can be for a year, I think it's going to be proven more beneficial. Because all of this information, once it is packed into just 7, 10 days, you know, it's overwhelming for somebody who's watching it. I went through cancer about 7 years ago, and I couldn't handle it. I had to go through the fear. I have to go through all the stages. I was a very angry person. I'm not sure I'm not sure if you guys are going through something right now. If it's cancer, then I understand your pain. I understand your fear. I had a health coach, and every time I would go to Trader Joe's, I was just telling her over and over again, I have nothing to eat because I have to follow whatever regimen she has to give to me. And when I say I have nothing to eat, I was just focusing on the junk foods that was on the junk food corner of the store. And I'm like, I cannot eat all of this and I cannot eat anything at all. And she said, well, you know, she was a very good sounding board. And I think that's how health coaches should be. Right now, if she's listening, I thank Cecilia for that. She was such a good health coach. I learned so much from her. And so during that visit with Trader Joe's, I remember getting so angry with this old lady because I was asking this guy for organic green apples, which was part of my regimen. And the guy said, no, we don't sell anything organic in this section. And the woman said, the old lady said, I don't believe in that organic stuff. I vented it on her. I was like, how dare she? I'm going through a deprivation here and she is questioning organic foods. So I just told her, I said, not if you have cancer, you know, and she was startled that somebody could just tell something like that to her. But it's true. You get angry. Sometimes it's unfair. But through the years, it took me about 7, and still I'm learning 7 years. When all of these things have been incorporated, a little bit here, a little bit there, line upon line, precept upon precept, you know, I learned to get adopted to this. And I'm not saying that my lifestyle is perfect right now. But one thing I can tell you is that I am earning the benefits of a lifestyle based on the 8 laws of health. Let me tell you a little bit about the frontal lobe. You're almost finished. The frontal lobe is responsible for reason, judgment, intellect, and will. It is the part of the brain where you can make choices, the right or the wrong choices. It actually forms pathways once you confirm each choice that you make. If it is your choice today not to go through the lifestyle, the change in the lifestyle, the healthy lifestyle, then that confirms it. Every day of your life, you know, this choice is being reinforced by you drinking coffee still after listening to these presentations. And then your friends are drinking the same thing. You live in an environment where the change in lifestyle is not encouraged. This pathway gets ingrained deeper and deeper. And it's a pathway where up until probably you will suffer the consequences of your choices would be there. But if you choose to follow this lifestyle now, you have triggered a new pathway in your brain. It takes 21 days to form a habit, 21 days to feel the healing that comes from any form of grief, like divorce, a loss of a job, a loss of a person, in a loved one in your family. 21 days. In 21 days, you'll be able to start moving forward again. If you are given the right incentives to do so. If you make this a part of your life now, something like that would trigger you to say, wow, I would like not to have the flu or the COVID-19 in my life. That triggers a pathway. When you sleep tonight, at the right time, these hormones are going to work on that particular decision that you made during the day. Then you wake up tomorrow, your husband, your wife, or somebody that you love would say, hi, mom, you look great today. Hi, dear, you look great today. Are we starting on that program? And you say yes. It further reinforces that pathway. And so on and so forth. Every day, you start taking out the coffee. You start taking out the meat, the dairy. You start exercising. You start deep breathing. Every moment of that day, if you sleep at a certain time where the power of these hormones are being secreted, that pathway gets reinforced up to 21 days. In 21 days, you have already formed a new habit and you won't be as complaining anymore. In fact, after 21 days, I guarantee you, if you start it right and within 21 days, if you start even tasting coffee, it would taste bad already for you. Even meat, even dairy. This is the power of the brain. Let me tell you what I'm telling you about. Let me tell you a story that would reinforce this particular segment of my presentation. I was told to visit a patient who was suffering from depression, severe depression. Her blood pressure was high, and she was only 52 years old. 52 years old. The doctor was wondering what is going on at home. She needed more antidepressants. She needed more sedatives. She was suffering through chronic pain. And so I was told to go in, and there she was. She was wearing mourning clothes. So she was very somber, and her eyes were tear stained. And when I got to talk to her, she said that her husband died. And so I said, oh, I am so, so sorry. It really broke my heart but when she started telling me the story that the husband died of a motorcycle accident, and she was telling me that it's so devastating to know that you say goodbye to your husband one morning and at the end of the day you won't see him again. So she wept and she wept, and I said, oh my. And I really thought this just happened, maybe 2 days ago, even yesterday. And so I told her, I'm so sorry, but when is the funeral? She said, oh, that was 10 years ago. I said, 10 years ago? And she said, yeah, and I've been mourning ever since. And she directed me to her room. There was this shrine, picture of her husband, candles lit, and little mementos. And she told me, which was very disturbing, she said, every morning when I get up, I spend some time in this place. Can you imagine what this woman has been going through? What pathways have been formed every day because she has to go through this routine where the ability to heal has been cut short just because she decides to mourn for the rest of her life. And how much of these diseases she's suffering is because of this. Her husband has passed away 10 years ago and she has not moved on. It's tragic. I don't know what I told her that day. I just pray that whatever I told her that day would have made her move on. This is who we are, Travel Light Ministries. You can email me at ydafenir@yahoo.com. Our website is under construction because of the COVID-19. We had to make sure that we incorporate virtual consultations. We do 21-day programs. It is my joy and my passion to help people find their way back to a lifestyle that will change their lives within 21 days. If not to find their way back, just to start, just to start it. And I've seen friends who have actually overcome diabetes, high cholesterol, lost 10 to 20 pounds during the 21-day program. I'm here to help you. It is my passion because I know of a God who has healed me and has led me this path. I have one more story to tell you, and I hope this story is going to stay in your mind forever. It has been my joy to tell this story only because it just shows how one decision can change one person's life. I was already transferred here in Oregon when my boss told me that I have to change a PICC line dressing on one of our hospice patients. And so I called him. His name is John. I have every consent. He said, I can share this story. Okay. And when I called him, he was very ornery over the phone. He was very bitter. He said, I don't want to see you. I'm dying. Do you think changing my dressing would extend my life another day? And so I said, well, John, you have to understand that if you don't change your dressing, you are more susceptible to infection, and we might use that one day for pain medications. And he said no. And so he hanged up. So I told my supervisor, he doesn't want to see me. I don't want to go there. My supervisor said, just try. It's the end of the day. We don't have anybody for you. I called again. I said, John, it's me. And said, yeah, I know it's you. You know, I live very close by. I would like to see you before I go home. Please, let me just change your dressing. Otherwise, somebody will call you again tomorrow with the exact same request to see you. So let's get this done over with. He finally said yes. And I know what I was going to be in for. I know I'm going to be with an ornery patient, and that usually takes a lot of toll on a nurse when their patients are very uncooperative and they're angry. When I got there, here was this emaciated man, cachectic. He was at the brink of death. And he was there and he said, just go ahead and do your thing. So he extended his arm. I did my thing. It was such a heavy silence. I didn't know what to say. But like for everything that I do, I always ask God for a prayer for guidance and the right words to say. I finally broke the silence and I said, you know, my husband and I, we make fresh carrot juices to our neighbors and our friends. Would you like me to bring you some? I just live 2 blocks down the road. You can just feel the change in the atmosphere. And he started crying. He said, Yvonne, I have been so mean to you. And yet you want to give me carrot juice? And so I said, I just live 2 blocks down the road. And he said, I feel so alone. I am dying and I'm alone. I don't have anyone. Why is this happening to me? Well, it's a very familiar question for anyone, for any nurse. And all I said was, John, I had cancer too. I know in part your pain. One thing I can tell you, you are not alone. You are not alone. There are several others who's going through the same thing like you. You have your home, you have your partner, you still have life right now. And one thing I can tell you is I went through cancer knowing I have a God who knows me and who loves me. And so he looked at me and he wept like he'd never wept before. And after a few minutes, he looked at me and said, I want your phone number, Yvonne. And so I said, sure. And I can send you the carrot juice. And so he started perking up, becoming cheerful. And he said, yes, I'm going to call you if I need the carrot juice. I never heard from John again. In fact, it took 3 weeks before his partner called me. And he said, are you Yvonne? I said, yeah. I said, well, I'm John's partner. And he told me specifically to call you after he has been buried. And said, oh, he passed away. And he said, yeah. Yvonne, he found peace after you left. He told me he found peace and he was a changed person. He said he's not alone. And he said he knows who he has believed in. He said that there is a God who loves him. Amazing. You know, you were meant to listen to these presentations for a reason. I wish that you would have gotten something from it. Once you've changed your lifestyle, there is one out there who is hopeless and probably losing his way as well. You can be of help to them. For now, concentrate on looking into your life, finding this, and knowing that you can be healthy. That you can serve your fellow man, you can serve God. Like what I told you, I don't know where you're at with your journey in this world and your journey with God. One thing I can tell you, if you can find God through all of this, then you're in for a very good, brilliant, life-satisfying surprise. And it should start now. Thank you for having me. The second part of this program, which is going to be in a few minutes, I'm going to ask Brother Jose, he is an evangelist, to talk to you about true rest. Where can you find true rest? Is it in the food? Is it the recreation? Is it in light sleep? These are all adjuncts to what true rest is. You have a blessed day, and thank you for having me.
Well, good evening, and I want to say thank you to Miss Yvonne Afenir for that wonderful presentation about rest. And I don't think that I want to add too much to what she said. I just simply want to give you this Bible text in Matthew. And it says this here in Matthew 11 and verse 29. It says, take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart, and ye shall find rest unto your souls. As much as we need physical rest, humanity is made in 3 spheres. We are mental, we are physical, and we are spiritual, because we come from a creator and a wonderful God. And so we talked a little bit this evening with Miss Yvonne about physical rest and those importance, but we also need spiritual rest. So when it comes to spiritual rest, we have to remember that only Christ can give us that. If we come after Christ, if we learn His ways are the best ways, and that will give us spiritual rest. May God bless you, and I'll turn the time over now to Seth as he continues with your questions and with your inquiries. God bless you all. Well, hello. Looks like I'm a little out of focus here. Let's see if we can. There we go. Perfect. All right. Thank you, Yvonne, for that wonderful presentation that you gave. Such a blessing to me. I actually, when I was young, I learned a little bit about sleep. And the way I learned was when I was young, Saturday nights, we used to actually pop popcorn. And we would pop popcorn and we would watch Hee Haw. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but Hee Haw was a program on TV, kind of a country type thing with banjos and whatnot. Kind of a sitcom, not a sitcom, but a uh, where they would give jokes and have music and stuff. So we'd watch that almost every Saturday night, and we'd pop popcorn. We'd eat the popcorn. Well, it came to a point where almost every Saturday night I would go to bed and I'd be full of this popcorn, and I would have nightmares, and I would wake up in the middle of the night screaming. And then other times I would actually take and not just wake up screaming, but other times I would actually get out of bed and I would go for a walk in my sleep. And I would try to open the door or whatever. And then there were times I would just be talking in my sleep. And, my dad would come in and he'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you yelling?" Whatever. And he would realize eventually after he would shake me, he'd touch me and I'd be like, and I'd wake up and like, didn't realize that that was keeping me awake. Well, after some time, we realized that eating that late at night with that much popcorn on my stomach and my digestive system was causing this
Yeah.
problem. And so I stopped eating late at night, and I no longer had bad dreams. I no longer talked in my sleep, and I no longer walked in my sleep, which can sometimes be scary because, if you're walking and you go outside, you might go someplace you're not supposed to go. So I appreciate actually the
Exactly.
wonderful stuff that you shared on sleep, and I know from my own experience in sleep, that it definitely can. You don't get your rest when you have at least for me, when I was eating late at night, and especially with the popcorn, it really affected my sleep. And of course, when it affected my sleep, when I wasn't getting my rest, then I wasn't feeling good the next day. And so that really was important. Um, and so, yeah, it was just really how that affected my own life. Is there any questions out there? Does anybody have any questions? It looks like we have one here. It says, "Thank you for your wonderful presentation. I enjoyed it a lot. I'm a pre-diabetic. When I don't eat dinner trying to fast, I feel weak. Are diabetic or pre-diabetic people able to fast before going to bed like regular people do?"
Well, it really depends. If you're taking medications, I wouldn't really like hypoglycemics. I don't believe you can fast that long. Okay, but there are instances where a patient would just eat like low glycemic foods, and we're talking about a slice of an apple, cherries. These are low glycemic fruits that they can eat so that it can probably won't drop their blood sugars to a level where they will have a reaction. Okay, and that would be detrimental. In fact, right now, doctors are more concerned about low blood sugars rather than high blood sugars, only because of what we call diabetic coma. And when you sleep, sometimes that's a very bad complication. But if you're hungry, I suggest, and if you're taking insulin or oral diabetics, but if you're pre-diabetic with no medications, you can go to the 21-day program. You can email me. I can help you, and I've seen that happen before, and they didn't have to worry about an HGA1C, that's higher than normal.
All right, great. That's awesome. I also actually had a few questions myself, actually. So I used to be a flight attendant, and when you're a flight attendant, you go from sometimes you'll start out working early in the morning, and then after you work early in the morning, the next day you might switch to working late at night, and then back to early in the morning. Do you have any suggestions to help sleep? Like for instance, when I go from working late at night and then I switch to early in the morning, I want to be in bed like at 8 o'clock because I have to be up at 4. The night before I was up till midnight. Is there any suggestions that might help me improve my sleep for when I'm switching my circadians, when I'm doing circadian swaps like that?
Now that is a difficult question. Now the thing is, you're right about the circadian rhythm. You just have to do the best you can when you're on this kind of flights. You know, flight attendants are really difficult to manage because they go from one time zone to the other.
Right.
And all you can do really is follow that one time zone where you are not working. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just follow that one and do the best you can whenever you're flying to another time zone. You know, you cannot just say, oh, it's morning, you know, and then I'm going to have to eat breakfast. You go to another time zone, it's morning again, so you eat heavy again. When actually, where you were originally, you know, that could have been dinner.
Right, right.
You're just going to have to follow the thing that you're going to have to eat light afterwards.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
For
that's
that one.
that
Just do the
makes
best you
sense.
can.
Do the best
But
you
it is
can.
possible. It is possible.
Yeah, yeah,
Do the best you can.
I think that's really all we can do is especially, you know, in today's world, sometimes you have to do the best you can. I know also, I think there's other people that I know that work nights, and so they're not able, you know, they're not
Night
able
shift.
to get the sleep before midnight because they're working at night. Is there any other suggestions that you can help with people that have to sleep during the day, or?
Yeah, I know this question is going to come up. I have several friends and actually my own brother who works night shifts, graveyard shift. He was the one who told me that the diet, the meal plan that I sent to him really worked for him. He had to eat before he started his shift. And all he did was fast from there up until he finished his shift, and he was fine. He works with COVID 19 patients. And he said, this works for me and my stamina. It is going to work. I can work it out for you, but you're going to have to follow the regimen in such a way that you will form a habit, you know, a good lifestyle habit. But it is possible. It is possible.
So it's important then to have an actual habit of doing the same thing every day at the same time if possible.
Oh,
Is that
yeah.
okay? Okay, that's very good to
Uh-huh.
know. Very good
Because night
information.
shift people, yeah, graveyard shift people, they work 3 days straight.
Right,
And then 4 days they don't work anymore. So during that 4 days, you see their circadian rhythm is disrupted. But
right.
during those 3 days, if they follow the same regimen they're gonna follow during their days off, they're gonna be okay.
So if you keep
Just
following that,
takes a lot more effort.
okay, yeah, yeah, very
It
good,
takes a
very
lot
good.
more effort. It's more challenging, but it's possible.
Yes, yes, and sometimes life is just that way. Sometimes you just have more challenges to do, but it's well worth it because you know, if you get your rest
Yeah.
at night, your body repairs itself. If you know, if that's my understanding.
Exactly.
Um, it
That
says,
was the meal plan that I was talking about. When
uh-huh.
it comes to resting, that like sleep, do the best you can. But I suggest that if you come to a point where you are given a choice to do morning shift, grab it.
Yeah,
Grab
yeah,
it. You cannot stay on a night shift for a long, long time. It really will put a toll on your body.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I know. I actually did graveyard for a while when I did tech support years ago. Um, and, you know, it
Uh-huh.
was fine when I was young. You know, that was probably when I was, oh, I think early 20s, so around 20, 21. When I was young, it wasn't as bad. But I will say when I got older and I was working some night stuff, I felt more of a toll than when I was a lot younger, that like in my early 20s. I will definitely say that. It looks like we have another message here. It says, thank you so much for
Exactly.
your wonderful presentation, filled with helpful information and direction to be healthy as possible. Is there any other comments, questions, concerns? Anything else that anybody else has to say? Um, I think that was definitely a very good presentation. And it looks like tomorrow night we have a much awesome presentation as well. If you do have any further questions, do want to let you know you can always write, and we'll be glad to forward it on to any of our presenters, especially if it's an in-depth question. We'll be happy to send that on. But you can always write us at jsi.iyhp@gmail.com. Once again, you can write us at jsi.iyhp@gmail.com. Let's see here. How can information be taught about the negative effects of eating meat and dairy and help teach the benefits of eating plant-based?
Well, that's going to be a very long lecture.
I think actually
So I suggest.
in the first, actually the first presentation talked some about that. You'll find it in Nutritional Jumpstart. Our Nutritional Jumpstart actually talked some about that, and that's going to be some great information. So if you look at Nutritional Jumpstart, you'll be able to see a lot of the information there. Looks like we have from Cheryl, we have, how can we watch this presentation again? Well, that's a very good question. You will actually, once the live stream is done, it will be uploaded to our Facebook page. You'll find that if you go to our Impact Your Health Portland on our Facebook, you can find it there, and you'll find that under the videos tab. So if you go to videos tab, you'll find it under there. Once it's uploaded, it'll be uploaded probably a little bit later this evening. You can also find it on our YouTube channel. So on our YouTube channel as well, which is also Impact Health Portland, you'll also find that on our YouTube channel as well. And also, if you just type in JumpStart in YouTube, I think it's about the fourth one that will come up as you're typing in that onto YouTube. And then also, if you go to jsi.impactyourhealthpdx.com, you'll also find that each previous presentation, the name of it, if it's underlined, we'll have a link there, and that will link you right to our YouTube presentations. And so that will link you right to it as well, that you can also see the presentation through our YouTube channel. So we'll bring you to our YouTube channel, bring up the video, and you can watch it there as well. So those are very good question. Once again, if you want to see previous presentations, especially the Nutritional Jumpstart or any of the other ones with about sleep or anything else, you can go there as well. So any other questions, comments? Once again, you can always email us at jsi.iyhp@gmail.com. We'll be glad to forward those to any of our presenters. Just put the name of the topic there in your subject, and that way we'll know which doctor or nurse or nutritionist to forward that on to. We'll be happy to answer any of your questions as well. Once again, join us again tomorrow night for God's Jumpstart, and that will be with Pastor Andre. Once again, God's Jumpstart with Pastor Andre tomorrow night, once again at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And he is coming to us from Hilo. Oh, looks like we have another question here. So let's see. It says, I heard that eating tofu was bad for women hormones. What do you recommend?
Well, as long as it's non-GMO, you're safe.
Okay, so GMO.
So make sure that it says non-GMO. All the hybrid are different.
Okay,
Yeah,
so GMO
when
is the.
it's genetically modified, that's pretty bad for you.
So you're fine if
when
you're
it's
eating.
genetically modified.
Okay.
Non-GMO.
So
It
non-GMO
says
is
they're
very
specifically
important.
organic, non-GMO. Yeah, but there's also flaxseed. You know, you can have flaxseed. Tempeh is another substitute.
Okay, awesome.
So if you don't feel like taking much of it.
Okay, awesome. That's good to know. Any other questions before we sign off here? Any other questions here? Okay, if there is no other questions, if not, once again, you can email us. We'll be glad to take your questions at jsi.iyhp@gmail.com. Once again, that's jsi.iyhp@gmail.com. And join us again tomorrow night for God's Jumpstart with Pastor Andre. Thanks, God bless, and have a great night.